Hi, I'm Stephanie Pedersen. I did the Green Bay Lobe in southeastern Wisconsin and the glaciations that occurred in the past 20,000 years, and also the many glacial lakes that occurred there, one in specifically. The area is right there in southeastern Wisconsin, and I focus more on Baraboo and the Baraboo Hills, as seen right there. And then most of you may know where this area is, because if you've ever heard of Devil's Lake or even been to Wisconsin Dells, it's that area. And I chose this topic because I've gone there throughout my whole life, and I was curious to learning more about the recent geology of the area. And also there's the sandstone gorges all over along the Wisconsin River, and I was really curious to see how they were formed. The glaciations that occurred was from the Laurentide ice sheet, and as you see, the Laurentide ice sheet covered most of North America, and this is where Wisconsin would be right there. And that's the Green Bay Lobe, which I will be talking about. The ice sheet was up to 2 miles thick in some places, but it was even thinner on the outsides. The Green Bay Lobe is right there, and this is where the Baraboo Hills is, and that's where it comes in. And as it moves south, it actually went and touched the Baraboo Hills. And the Green Bay Lobe was up to 1,000 meters thick, 125 kilometers wide, and over 200 kilometers long. And it came into Portage County, which is the county that Baraboo's in, around 23,000 years ago. And it reached its maximum around 18,500 years ago. And then it began to retreat away from the Baraboo Hills at around 14,000 years ago. And then there's a picture of what it used to look like, and these are some of the features that are seen today. There's the moraines and the drumlins that are seen today. This is the main basin that I was talking about. And as the Green Bay Lobe went and touched the Baraboo Hills, it caused the Wisconsin River to fill in this main basin, which caused a glacial lake to form. And the glacial lake was around 286 and 296 feet deep, and it not only did it form from the Wisconsin River, but it also formed from meltwater from the ice sheet. And scientists were said to have, they first thought that there was a lake there when they found all of the sediment from lakes and stuff in the sandstone. And also because they were different, they found that the lake fluctuated. And there was large crystals that were found in the gravel that led the researchers to believe that the lake was catastrophic, and the coarseness of the deposit showed that rather than a gradual drainage, it was actually very quickly. Jordan, Clayton, and James Knox from the University of Wisconsin estimated the rate of the discharge using 2 different methods. They used a step backwater model, and also they tried to reconstruct the lake. The step backwater model they modeled a steady flow with gradual change and possibly reconstructing former flows that the lake had, which determined the discharge. And they did it in 2 models, the less constrained model and a more constrained model. And the less constrained had the bounds for maximum and minimum water surfaces, and the more constrained had a narrow range. And he also reconstructed the lake and used an empirical formula to determine the peak discharge at the low outlet, which is right there. which is where all of the, once the lobe retreated, the water went out of that outlet into Lake Merrimack, which is down there. And his results determined that the peak discharge was at 150,000 cubic meters per second, and it happened around 14,000 years ago when the ice sheet receded far enough back. They use two main types of dating techniques in the area. They use radiocarbon and cosmogenic, but J.W. Higg thought that radiocarbon dates were too hard to use because of the permafrost that was left in the area after the glacier retreated, and also there's a lack of organic material and an instability of landforms following the deposition. But so he used more cosmogenic dating, which is how long the rocks have been at the surface, and according to the sun exposure, he was able to date the initial retreat to 18,500 years. And then Carson also did a study, but he found he took cores at two valleys, and he was able to find some organic material in the substances, and so he was able to use the radiocarbon dating, and his radiocarbon dating came up to 26 to 21,000 years before present, and he also did the cosmogenic dating and found that it was 20,100 to 17,200, which is very similar to Higg's research. So 18,500 is the one that they use right now. And the dating also showed the fluctuations that the glacial lake had. Right here is just a summary of how the lobe advanced and retreated over time. There's the time over there in thousands of years before present. So around like 23,000 years ago, it came into the area and then reached its maximum around 18,000 years, and then retreated in around 14,000 years ago. Here is where the lake drained, and then the glacier retreated. And in conclusion, the area of Baraboo has undergone many changes in the past 20,000 years in order to create the landforms we see today. Now there's many drumlins, moraines, gorges in the area, and it's most famous for its Baraboo quartzite. The gorges, as in that picture, were formed when the lake did catastrophically drain because it caused a lot of the sediment to erode. And the Wisconsin River still flows through the area today. However, it does not follow the same path because the damming that the Green Bay lobe had caused. And there still is a driftless area to the left that was completely unglaciated that Evan's going to talk about. So.
Can you go back to your slide of the map that showed, yeah, that one will work.
Yeah.
So on this map, what were the, there was a big lake that drained catastrophically.
Yeah.
So show us on the map which way it drained and where some of the effects of it were.
It drained to the south through this outlet, and so a lot of the water drained into Lake Merrimack, and the effects were it left moraines up in here, and also the, yeah, just the Marines, I guess.
And then ultimately, where did the water go?
It's out into Lake Merrimack, but that looks pretty small. It,
So where did it go from there?
into rivers, streams,
Into the Wisconsin River.
yeah.
Other questions for Stephanie?